Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Out Today and What I Missed, this time for August 7th, 2025. It feels strange knowing that this is my first set of reviews for my 15th year of music media coverage, but I'm so thankful to still be doing it after all this time, from reviews to interviews to radio shows to podcasts and more. I'm glad I still get to do this. But this week we're going to keep things simple. Just 10 albums, 5 that are out today, 5 that I missed along the way. Let's just get right into it. First up, we have a band name and an album title that I know I'm going to get wrong, and I deeply apologize for getting both of these wrong. Dymna, Lotva, with Vyraj. The backstory of this Belarus-founded and now Poland-based band is insane, and I highly recommend you look it up. Their fourth album is a dark tale of their struggle of forced immigration, again, look up their story, and thoughts on life after death. While I don't understand their use of Ukrainian and Belarusian languages, I do love what High Parasite frontman Aaron Stainthorpe adds to the English section of the album, and from that alone, you can tell how heartbreaking this album truly entails. Mixed in with a stellar production style and songwriting that will grab a hold of you and never let go. This is the kind of album that has staying power for a band blending post-black, doom, folk, and more to prove that adversity is never going to slow them down. They deserve all the love they can get, and this is an excellent representation of what rebellion should look like in 2026. Next up, we have Hulder with Verbolgen. The sophomore album from this Washington band is some of the most authentic displays of dark black metal that I've heard in a very long time. It's the kind of album that feels like an unholy force that cascades over you throughout all 9 tracks and 48.5 minutes. It mixes that second and third wave of black metal with the right amount of folk and pagan elements to make this an album that feels more at home in the depths of Scandinavia than the Pacific Northwest. But that's also what makes this album so intriguing and captivating. The production is a bit more on the raw side, but it's the kind of raw that feels so appropriate and really does the genre justice. If you enjoy the likes of Middle Era Emperor, Satyricon, and Bathory, check out Hulder in all their glory. Now we have Negative Frame with Break the Ice. The debut album from this British band is 11 tracks and 38 minutes of metallic hardcore that hits that perfect balance of both genres, leading to both catchy and pit-inducing moments. It can be odd hearing a band go from moments that is sure to get people circle pitting in the best of ways and destroying the venue with their hardcore kicks, while having sing-along moments that feel like they come out of nowhere, but they also feel so appropriate for the music. For a contemporary band, think of a band like Malevolence. It's a great band to pair them up with. But if you're looking for a band that can channel their inner Gojira, Unearth, and Converge, Negative Frame is a band that you need to look out for. They're only going to get bigger and better from here on out. Next up is Temple of Dread with Dreadspawn Dominion. The 6th album from Germany's Temple of Dread is 80s old-school death metal that we all know and love, hitting that mix of early-day death with the doomier ends of Asphyx and that legendary buzzsaw guitar sound of that Scandinavian old-school death metal sound of a band like Dismember to make a modern throwback that hits you just as hard as the forefathers did of the genre. While far from reinventing the wheel, this is all about the precision and the execution that makes this genre work, and this is one of the best examples in 2026. 10 tracks, a little over 40 minutes, and it leaves you feeling fulfilled after every listen. What else could you possibly need in a death metal album? And finally, for brand new music out today, we have Xandria with Eclipse. The 9th album from the long-running German symphonic metal band is one of the most diverse albums in the band's catalog. While there are still songs that will remind you of that classic symphonic metal sound, there are songs that feel absolutely crushing with their down-tuned guitars and breakdowns, and occasional throwbacks to 80s metal that will put a smile on your face. Wrap all that up with some of the catchiest choruses in the genre, and you have what makes the band work in 2026. It may feel a bit long at 11 songs and a little over 57.5 minutes, but that comes with the territory of not becoming a full-on modern symphonic metal or, let's face it, Amaranth band, and keeping some of that past intact. If you somehow have missed this band, but you enjoy Middle Era Within Temptation, Nightwish, and Delane, get on Xandria right now. And now for everything that I missed along the way, starting with Advents with A Bitter Truth You Can't Undo. The debut album from this New York City band is a textbook definition of that modern metalcore sound and what it looks like in 2026. From some of the most crushing riffs to some of the most catchy sing-along choruses you can imagine all in the same song. For some, it's formulaic. For others, it scratches that itch time and time again. No shame whether you dig it or not, but I am of the former. But it does have some twists and turns that you won't see coming, and that makes the whole album experience worth enjoying between all 10 songs and 32 minutes. This This is for those who enjoy the likes of I Prevail, Latter-day Architects, and Execution Day. Sometimes making metal catchy and filled with clean and polished production is the way to go. Advance is doing it right, and I'm curious to see where they go from here. Now we have Dreamtale with Aetherbound. The 9th album from Finland's Dreamtale, and first in 4 years, is a welcome surprise to come across. I've been wanting to hear a new album from the band for a while, and I'm so glad this dropped. First off, if you don't like the cheesy end of power metal, steer clear of this one. This is everything that brand of power metal brings to the table, and more. That said, if you love music that feels dramatic, ethereal, fairy-like, and the power metal tropes that you know and love, this is Dreamtale in a nutshell. The production is a little more raw than I expected, but it also makes the album feel that much more human. The whole album just puts a grin on my face in all of the best ways. And when an album can do that, you know that they're doing something right. Over 13 songs and close to 52.5 minutes later, you'll be happy you checked this one out. If you dig the likes of Freedom Call, Temperance, Majestica, and Fairyland, check out Dreamtale. Now we have Finsterforst with Still. It's been too long since the last LP from this German band. The 6th album and first in 7 years from this band is such a dark and captivating but also very concise album. When you look at their previous work, including their last album Zerfall, which the shortest song was 8 minutes and the longest was 36.5 minutes, this feels like it goes back to what made the band work in the first place and captures that Black Forest sound with just enough intrigue to lure you in before going for the kill. Now don't get me wrong, this is still a long album at 67 minutes, over 9 tracks, and one of them is a 24-minute epic, and also a cover of Pink Floyd's biggest song, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. But the rest of the album has that classic sound, but updated just enough not to feel like a clone of their past work, and it works on every level. I'm just so happy to see the band back in prime form. If you enjoy the likes of Wolf Chant, Veneer, Tearfang, and Early Day Equilibrium, do yourself a favor and check out Finsterforst. Now we have Lalu with a Mythmaker's Demise. The 5th album in 21 years from Vivian Lalu is such a nice surprise. While his later output has been more on the progressive metal side of things, this leans more into the 70s and 80s progressive rock sound, with just enough modern influences to make the music truly his own. I can hear a ton of Yes on this one, but I also hear a lot of Marillion and middle era Porcupine Tree, you know, that era before they got metal, and it really does spice things up and makes this a true modern progressive rock album for the ages. While my passion for progressive rock has waned over the years, when it's done right, it still hits the soul in a way like no other can do for me, and I've yet to find a greater example of this in 2026 than what Lalu is delivering here. At 10 songs and almost 47.5 minutes, this is going to be my favorite progressive rock metal album of the year. What a great way to celebrate over 2 decades of this project. And finally today, it's No Pressure with NP Style. The sophomore album from this pop-punk band featuring an all-star lineup of members from The Story So Far, Light Years, Regulate, Drain, and Blind Justice. It's 10 tracks, 21 minutes of pure, unadulterated pop-punk. From the heaviest ends of the genre feeling like a mix of Slayer meets Bad Brains, to the catchiest 2000s emo-drenched Warped Tour-flavored pop-punk that you can imagine, and everything in between. This was a surprise release that no one saw coming, and I simply can't get enough of it. When you listen to it once, you'll immediately start it over. The pop punk album of the year, bar none. And there you go, folks, another 10 albums down for Out Today and What I Missed. I know it's a light week this week, but it's nothing compared to next week, where I might be taking the next week off not because I need a break, but because I only have one promo. Not one that I liked. One promo I've gotten for August 14th, 2026. I might end up just doing some albums that I missed to try to catch up on it, so I don't have another week off, but I haven't decided yet. But check back next week just to see what I do. But until then, or if you want to come back August 21st for Out Today and What I Missed, for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skullet.